Hey, this is RPPR episode 203, Gencon 2024 highlights. This is our first year back to Gencon for a while now, and I wanted to record a quick episode to sort of talk about some of the highlights of the material that we've recorded for this, and there's going to be coming out on RPPR in the next couple of months, and also just my initial impressions of Gencon. Gencon is absolutely huge. A tabletop gaming convention as we have documented over many years on RPPR. And it's also how RPPR got started back in 2007. I went to Gen Con and it's like, hey, we should start a podcast to talk about this. People should know. And here we are. It's been a long, strange trip, but we did record a lot of cool stuff for you. So some things to be aware of that are going to be coming out in the next month, 2 months. We have panels that we recorded. We did the Delta Green and Arc Dream Publishing panel with me, Ken Haidt, Caleb Stokes, and Gareth Hanrahan, and myself. And we talked a lot about Delta Green, the new Fall of Delta Green campaign that's come out, the Borlius Connection, that Gareth and Ken wrote. And then we did a panel on actual play podcasting. So how to get started, 101. So we have some great advice. We have some guests from other podcasts, Rob Stith from the Orpheus Protocol podcast and Ethan Cordray from the Technical Difficulties. So that's going to be really cool. And of course, we recorded a live episode of our PPR where we talked about random Gen Con encounters, highlights, and a lot of other cool stuff. So as you may notice, we have a lot of video coverage of Gen Con because I got this camera and I wanted to use it out. So there will be a lot of interesting video to look at. So if you're just listening to this, maybe go subscribe to our YouTube channel and check out some of these video highlights that are in this episode and will be in upcoming episodes about it. We also recorded a Delta Green live play run by Juicy Garland, a drag queen and member of Tabletop Tailspinners that Caleb and I were on along with two other performers, and it was a lot of fun. I recorded video. We'll see how good the video is of that, but we definitely got the audio. I recorded 2 interviews, so stay tuned to see who they are and what they have to talk about. Of course, we're going to do an extended episode, Gen Con breakdown with all the RPPR cast members, talk about what they saw and what they encountered, and show you a lot more video of it. And it'll be a lot of fun.
Gold Ennie for best and picture long form goes to Delta Green, guys.
And of course, the big news is that Caleb won the Gold Ennie for best long form adventure for Delta Green God's Teeth. It's been a long, strange trip for that campaign and that book. As you know, it got started on RPPR Actual Play as a playtest campaign for Caleb just wrote just to run for the podcast, and eventually got picked up by Delta Green and came out, sold out at Gen Con, and I'm very proud of Caleb, and he deserves it from all that hard work, all those years of toil, and it's an incredibly creative project. So if you haven't gotten that copy, if you're a fan of Delta Green, I highly recommend God's Teeth. Of course, it is an incredibly intense, sad, and moving campaign. So, it's not for everyone, at least to play, but I mean, if you're a Delta Green fan, I think it's worth reading. So, if nothing else. And I also have an idea for a special video project related to the enamel pin collecting culture and the pin bazaar. I want to sort of figure out more of the details before I reveal more about that. I enlisted the aid of the RPPR community to take photos and videos, and I'll be showing them throughout this episode and our extended Gen Con episode, to sort of show the width and breadth of Gen Con. I made a list of major areas to document just by going through the Gen Con program. And while I didn't get all of them, I got a lot. And this is just like some of the kind of things you can see and do at Gen Con. So there's the exhibit hall, of course, where there's all the newest games being promoted and sold. There's Cardhalla, where they assemble massive structures from old trading card games. There's, of course, the food trucks. There's cosplayers everywhere. There's the Makers Market. There's the Lucas Oil Stadium had just hundreds, maybe thousands of events. It's hard to tell, but just an incredible, it's just sprawled out over so much of downtown Indianapolis. It's crazy. There's the collective art project. There's a puppetry program. There's laser tag that's kill themed, Warhammer 40K themed. There's an auction. There's art. There's a writer's symposium. There's escape rooms. There's True Dungeon. Gen Con really is 10 different conventions stacked up into one. You can really get the pulse of the tabletop gaming community. For example, I heard that Jubinshaw games were offered there for maybe the first time. I'm not sure. But if you don't know what those are Chinese murder mysteries that are very popular in mainland China. Quinn's did a video on them, and I'll put a link in the show notes. But they're huge in China. They're just beginning to be exported here to the West. So I'm very curious about those. I didn't get a chance to play the one, but the fact that they were even offered at all was like, I also saw some new trends for tabletop RPGs. For example, solo play options are being offered in a lot of mainstay games now, like the One Ring. The Minds of Moria, the new book, has a solo play option, which is very interesting. So that's something we'll have to look more into at RPPR. But other people in the RPPR community, they were playing card game tournaments, winning rare cards. They went on scavenger hunts for rare pins, discovered a ton of new board games and RPGs, met new people, met friends that they hadn't seen in years. There are games offered that have like 20 to 80 players or more. There's LARPs. There's so much to do and see. It really does give you, it's a microcosm of the entire tabletop hobby and community. So it's worth looking into. It's worth learning about if you're interested in tabletop games, even if even if you didn't go, even if you'll never go. So that's why we spend so much time covering them on our PBR. Yeah, it's a lot of fun. I just want to let you all know about this. So finally, before I go, thank you all who support us on Patreon. We have a lot of great episodes coming up this month. Another level of Stonehill is going to be covered in our Mega Dungeon Meandering series. In After Hours, we're going to be looking at an older game an RPPR fan alerted me to. It's called Super Babe, and I'll let you draw your own conclusion by just showing you the cover. So, yeah, that'll be a interesting episode. In After Hours, we cover a lot of the weirdest and sort of mostly forgotten, obscure tabletop RPG books. Like we previously just covered the 2001 module for Star Frontiers. Yes, based on that movie. In that module, it makes a lot of interesting choices. So if you want to hear more details, it's already up on our Patreon. We also did an actual play inspired by that module that involves time loops and the weirdest homage to Space Jam I've ever... words can't really... Well, you'll just have to listen to the actual play to really get the understand the scope of how weird we got with it. So, there's a lot of cool stuff on our Patreon. So, if you want to help RPPR keep going, please, and you want to get a lot of great podcasts, a lot of great artwork. I've written scenarios that are exclusive for the Patreon. Check out the patreon.com/RPPR. It would mean a lot. And we're going to be having a lot of cool stuff based on our time at Gen Con. And I'm really excited about it. So thank you all so much for listening or for watching. And don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And we'll talk to you later. Bye.